And this is the Norco Torrent 2023 A1. Super modern bike, super modern geometry. Climbs super well, descends confidently. Absolutely awesome bike. It's great for big days and it's great for cross-country days. A little tough to do a bike review when you're pedaling uphill and it's a hardcore hardtail. Certainly sucking for air compared to doing it on an e-bike, that's for sure. So this Norco Torrent, this is the A1. It comes with a RockShox 35 gold fork. Kind of a cheesy fork for the amount of money they charge for the bike, but it's definitely functional. You can upgrade it if you want. It does have super modern geometry to the frame. The head tube angle is super slack at 64 degrees. C-tube angle really steep, so it climbs super well. It just feels like a really good all-arounder. Now granted, I've only taken this thing out 5 or 6 times. But so far, I'm really happy with it. I've only got one complaint about it. And that complaint is that there's a little cable rattle on the inside. But we can kind of talk about that later. So it is a hardtail. And that means it's going to bounce you around a little bit more. But at the same time, it doesn't feel like it's going to get away from under you. It feels super planted, super confident. I never once want for more braking or more gears. And as much as I'd love it to be full suspension, that just takes away from it. The charm is that it's a hardtail. It does have a 12-speed Dior drivetrain, which is pretty decent. I mean, for the retail price of this bike, I don't think it's the best. But if you grab it on sale, 12-speed Dior is more than good enough. Comes with a Trans-X dropper, I believe. And these are 4-piston brakes. I think they're the Shimano MT420s. They got more than enough bite. I mean, even the saddle is comfortable. This bike does not feel out of place on a blue trail, whether it's a Tech Blue or a Flow Blue. And it can hang in a black. Anything without big jumps and drops, perfect bike. Absolutely perfect bike. And the simplicity of the hardtail is the best part. Way less maintenance, way less to go wrong. And with how modern this bike geometry is, it'll stay with you forever. I mean, bikes are so good now. These Hans Dampf tires, I haven't fallen in love with them yet, but they don't make me feel unsafe like some Bontrager tires do. I just don't know them well enough like I know the DHR DHF combo from Maxxis. Right now, Calgary Cycle's got them on sale for $1,400 Canadian. And I believe that's somewhere in the neighborhood of $1,000 American. For a bike this well equipped at that price, I'm super impressed. It just handled everything. And it feels like it's easier to climb on, at least cardio wise, than my full suspension bike. Full suspension, much more comfortable. But this hardtail just climbs like a billy goat. I think it comes down to the weight of the bike. And you're not really losing any efficiency in the pedal stroke like you are with the rear suspension bike. The dropper responds super quickly. There's no stick. It almost shoots up too violently when you want to open it up or when you want to raise it up. Can't believe how lucky we are. It's November 6th and we're still bare dirt, decent temperatures. Feel like the hoodie I'm wearing is almost overkill. You can probably hear the rattle on that descent a little bit. Just a little cable rattle, I think. Trying to investigate ways that I can repair it and rectify it, because it does get a little bit annoying. This color scheme on this bike is insane. I feel like I'm riding on Santa's sleigh. I don't know why everything has to be internally cable routed. I love that about Kona bikes. All their cables on their regular hardtails, and I think most of their full suspension bikes too, it's all external routing. And it's like so much easier to quiet a bike down, so much easier to swap parts out. You don't have to feed hoses through a frame. You want to change the dropper, you want to change the brakes, everything's external. Just so much easier. And I get it, it's not as pretty, but you know, it's not a fashion show. Be nice to see these bikes go back to that external cable routing. But you definitely do want to wear a liner to absorb the shock, because that saddle will beat your undercarriage up pretty bad on a hardtail. Just anytime you're going over this many roots and rocks and you don't have that full suspension, it tends to become uncomfortable after 15-20 kilometers. Have to be choosy with where I talk about this bike. I don't want to be out of breath the entire time, dying on the video. Instead of hikey bikey, it's going to be the huffy puffy show. Anyways, we're in West Bragg Creek. This is a perfect bike for this place. A lot of people ride some like $10,000 Santa Cruz bikes with Fox Factory, this and that. I love those bikes, it's amazing, but you don't need it to get into the sport. A simple hardcore hardtail like this will take you so far. I don't think there's really much you can't ride with it in Alberta, aside from giant jump and drops and so on. This is a perfect blue trail bike. And for the entry price, even if you're buying it new, I mean, go check out Calgary Cycle. I don't want to plug them too much, but they were really nice to me. $1,400 and they waived the tax on it. Just an absolutely sweet deal on this bike. Normally it's a $2,800 bike if you're buying it at retail price. Wild. That bike boom in the COVID era and all the building they did afterwards just made a lot of sweet deals to be sniped up. So if you're in a market, bike season's over, you can probably negotiate a bit harder right now than you could before. So this bike has 150 mil travel on the front fork, which is quite a lot for a hardtail. I think eventually I'll go the route of getting a Lyric Ultimate or something for it. But that 150 mil travel, it sure comes in handy when you're heading down something nasty like this. Really takes a lot of the beating off your body, puts it into the fork. So they make this bike in a steel frame as well, but I'm not super enthusiastic about steel bikes. They're a little heavy, and it feels like it's kind of like a cult, honestly, the steel frame cult. Aluminum, she's a little lighter, more corrosion resistance, you don't have to worry about rust. You can have a hardcore hardtail in aluminum just the same way you can have one in steel. And again, for the purposes of this bike, I don't need anything more than what it is. The reason I bought this bike is because I've been riding here for years now, and I love riding West Bragg, but you can imagine after riding the same trails over and over and over again, it starts to get a little bit less challenging. But the hardtail, you have to be a bit picky about where you're going. You have to choose your line more carefully. You can tank just about almost everything, but it requires a bit more thinking, a bit more of a careful, slower ride. And at my age, of being careful definitely makes a lot of sense. So I think the hardtail is a really good teaching tool, just like the fat bike is a good teaching tool. The hardtail takes you to a place where you have to be more careful about picking your lines, more meaningful or thoughtful with your pedal stroke to avoid getting hung up on rocks and roots. And the fat bike, it gets you used to being uncomfortable. Not just because of the cold, but because of how much those things slide around, even with good studs. If you're riding through looser snow, your fat bike is losing it every time you turn. And getting used to that just makes you a better rider overall. So I have a hardtail from my girlfriend, and that's the bike that I'm teaching her how to ride on. And I know that as soon as she gets a good quality full suspension bike, her confidence and speed are going to be through the roof. Her progression will go from slight progression every few rides to more meaningful progression because of her increased confidence. Learn on a hardtail, and then once you're comfortable, expand into a full suspension. Hardtail is also a little cheaper to get into. Full suspension, it's tough to find a decent bike under $3,000. Hardtail, half the price, and you're out on the mountains having a good time. So if you don't know if you're gonna like the sport, at least a hardtail, you can easily ride that on trails and pathways in town too. So the thing I love about hardtails as well, you get far fewer pedal strikes. Man, this is a pretty bike. I'll get the sun the right way. It's a little bit dusty and dirty, but she just pops in the sun. Got a little protection on it. It doesn't have a down tube protector or anything, but for small money from Amazon, you can get it protected up. Rock shocks, 35 gold. Not a great fork, but if you get it tuned okay, it rides all right. These tires, I'm kind of into them, these Hansdorffs. I haven't had any issues. I haven't felt like I was going to slide out at all. And they feel pretty light. This chain ring, again, it's a 32 tooth chain ring. A little bit of a odd choice. I would have gone with the 30 tooth, but again, cheap to change. It's just 4 bolts and 5 minutes of your time. We've got the Dior derailleur at the back. This is a 12-speed bike. Now, 12-speed feels like a little overkill. You're fine with a 10-speed, even a 9-speed. And the new Shimano Q's drivetrains, like, as much as they may not be their top tier, and they are considered entry level, those Q's drivetrains are pretty decent. They shift super well, and they're super reliable, and they cost nothing if you break one. Dropper, pretty decent, 150 mil dropper. These brakes are pretty solid. They're the Shimano MT420s, so they are 4-piston brakes. Again, 4-piston brakes on an awesome hardtail. This thing, it stops on a dime. It feels super confident when you're going downhill. Aside from that slight cable rattle, which can get a little annoying, I absolutely love this bike. So this is Berlin's bench. This is a great spot to take just a quick little break when you're pedaling uphill. It's a perfect halfway point to stop. Beautiful view, especially with the sun out like it is today. I mean, it's only 10 degrees, but with the sun, it feels so nice. Absolutely gorgeous with the mountains in the background. Sometimes I'm just overwhelmed with how perfect life can be sometimes. So we are just about at the top of this climb, about to start the descent. And one thing that, it's kind of a weird thing to praise, but this dropper lever, it's humongous, but it feels so positive. I've got other bikes that have dropper levers that are like super mushy, and this one just feels like, I don't know, it's perfect. I don't know how to explain it. Again, silly little thing to praise, but it's awesome. I mean, the hubs don't sound loud, and that's kind of like a weird thing. It's become like super in fashion to have a bike that when you stop pedaling, the hubs just screech at everybody around you. All right, let's get her started. This bike comes set up with tubes, which is kind of cheesy again at the price point. I can set it up tubeless if I want. But in a few years of riding, I've still never had a puncture. All right, let's see how she rips. We're just picking our speed because the hardtail is not as forgiving. Whoa. Yeah, definitely a little bit more cautious on a hardtail. Landing flat does not feel good. Feel happy. Feeling happy. Man, oh man, is it pretty today. not bad. Need to get more comfortable with this bike, that's for sure. And it does not feel good to land flat, that's for sure. So yeah, don't let your bike stop you from getting out somewhere. You don't need a $5 or a $6 or a $7 or $10,000 bike to come out and enjoy some blue trails. Even if they're a bit chunky, a bit nasty, a bit rooty and loose and so on, Hardtail can still do it all. You just might have to slow it down a little bit, take your time, be a little bit more careful. You can't just float over everything that's gnarly and nasty, but she'll get you down the trail, that's for sure. It beats your hands up pretty good. So it's kind of more fun to just get started with what you got. And if you can find a way to improve it over time, that's great. If you can't, just do the best of what you got. Whee!